Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strategy Gaming Dojo, where we find, learn, and play one more turn of the great strategy games. Now, today we're going to try something a little bit different. I've had some requests to do a series of videos called Let's Learn to Play This Game in a Certain Number of Minutes. People wanted something that maybe wasn't as in-depth as my tutorials or my Let's Plays, and so I'm going to be doing this series of videos on games that we cover that give you the big kind of high level basics so that you can watch that one video and start playing the game and at least get into it and feel like you're not lost, that you know what you're doing, that you understand the basics of the game. And so this video is going to attempt to teach you in 60 minutes the big picture basics that you need to play Crusader Kings 3. So let's get started. Uh, this is the first screen that comes up when you hit new game. Okay, and on the screen, what you'll see are various characters in the game, and you will see these window panes up here at the top. Now, you do not have to play these characters. These characters are the sons of Ragnar Lothbrok, and so they are the Vikings, and these are various characters that the developers and designers of the game thought would be interesting to you to play, but you do not have to play them. As a matter of fact, you can hit on this next window pane called the Great Adventures, and you could play one of these characters, but you do not have to. As a matter of fact, you don't have to play any of the suggested characters. On this screen, the main choice that you have to make is to either start in 867 or 1066, okay? So if we go over here to 1066, you'll see more suggested characters. But again, you do not have to play those. You can, certainly. Again, the developers thought they were interesting and they show you how hard or easy that they think a character might be to play or to get started on. But you can play anyone in this world. So you're either going to pick a window pane that says 867 or 1066. Now, before we leave this screen, I'm going to just point out here that down here is the game rules. You can bring that up. The game rules, the most important one is difficulty, but you can go through here and select how much disease you want in your world, how much gender equality, whether there's a Mongol invasion, all of these different choices that aren't going to mean a lot to you if you're just starting out. But as you get to know the game better, you may want certain things to happen more or less. You can go through and pick this. The main thing to pick, though, is what they have here at the bottom. So they list it again where you can pick the difficulty level. Now, for our purposes here, I'm going to leave that to normal. Now, I said you did not have to pick anyone that is suggested, but let's say that we did decide we want to play in the year 1066. So if we have this pane selected, it will say play as any ruler in 1066 or create your own. Let's click on that. When we click on that, we will come to the parchment map. And on the parchment or tabletop map, it will show our entire world. Now over here to the right, again, you can pick the difficulty level. Again, you can go into the game rules, and here you can create your own ruler. We're not going to go in depth on that, but you can create how that ruler looks, what their personality is like. You can go through how old that person is, different traits. So you can now create your own ruler, which was a really nice thing that they added to Crusader Kings 3. You could also have the game pick you a random character, or you can just hit observe and watch the world play out. Now you say, okay, well, how do I pick the character I want to play? Well, let's zoom in on the mouse wheel, and you can zoom in anywhere that you want. And every place where you see a shield here, there is a playable character. And so in this game, you will be playing the lowest ranked character that you can play is a count or a warlord. They're called a few different things around the map, but the basic idea is that they only control a county, okay? And you can tell that because the size of the shields. The smallest shield, okay, and this person is called a Judak. but it is on the county level. You could play this character. The next level up is what is called a duchy level character. Okay, and a duchy level. So we'll see the smaller here is the count, or in this case here, it's called an earl, an earldom. The next size shield up is what is here called a petty king, but this is a duchy. Okay, that's the next size up. And then this size is a king or a kingdom. Okay, and so the size of the shield will essentially tell you how much territory that character has at the start and what that character controls at the start. Okay, and you can pick any of these, and that stretches all the way from China in the east over here, and it works the same. Now, they may be called something different, but it's the same idea. So, this is the county of Bequin. Evidently, over in this area of the world, the people that control counties are called Nagapos. Okay, but you can see what they control here, and it is a county. The next level of shield up, these are called petty kingdoms, just like they are in Ireland. And this is a Prabhu. Okay, that's just their title. Now this person um, controls a kingdom, and they're a Maharaja. All right, and so don't let these names confuse you in any way. Look down here. It's either going to be a county, a duchy, or a petty kingdom, or a kingdom. All right. The top level is an empire at the start of the game. There are very few empires. There's the Byzantine Empire and the Holy Roman Empire. If we go here, you'll see Kaiser Heinrich IV is the Holy Roman Emperor. The Holy Roman Empire is his realm. All right. So you can pick any one on the map. As I did with our basic tutorial, and as the game itself picks as its tutorial character, let's go to the Petty Kingdom of Munster, Petty King Murshad, and dive into the game. So we will pick him as our character, and again, you could go select this area, and if you do not like him, you could create your own character that will then be the Petty King. Name him whatever you want, or her. Let's play. All right. So when we come to this screen, we've now picked our character. What are you seeing here? Well, this is the realm view. The realm view shows you the actual controlled territory by characters in the game. All right. And so if we click on the Petty King Murshad by left clicking on him, it will show us the territory that he controls. All right. You can right click, or I'm sorry, you can left click on any character in the game and it will bring their character card up. All right, and you can see everything about them, and it will show you the territory they control. Now, this is our son, Brian McMurchad, your son, player heir. He's a knight. They give you a kind of a basic personality for him. He's a bold lackey, okay? And it goes into more that we'll get into in a second. But if we went over here and clicked on the shield, Principality of Gwynedd, it brings up the ruler of that area, Prince Bladen ap Sinfin. Okay, great. And his spouse. Now, if we wanted to know more about his spouse, we could left click on her and it would tell us all about her, and left click back on him. All right. If you right click on a character, it shows you all of the different ways that you can interact with that character in the game. And for the most part, and it's only limited by geography. So, as a player in Ireland, you can't really interact with a player in India, a character in India, okay? But you can pretty much interact with anyone down into France, into England, anyone that's close enough, let's say, to take a message to, you can interact with that character in the game. And so, let's click on this guy. This is Earl Ragnald Sigtryson. All right. You'll see this yellow line here. That means he is our vassal, and we'll get into that. But it looks like he does not have a wife. We could right click on him and we can take all of these different actions towards this character. Now, let's talk about the game from a big grand perspective. This is very much a text-based uh, game that has events that happen. As the game starts, events will pop up on the screen where you either have to take actions or make decisions. Things happen. People will come to your lands. They will want to build things, let's say, or they will want to tell you information about other characters, or maybe they're good knights and you want them to be in your army. All of these different things happen by pop-ups that are text-based. So it gets back into the 80s and 90s when you had these text-based role-playing games, okay? Now, when we start, we are this character. So down here to the left, that is your character. That is who you're playing at this moment. Now, as time goes by, this character will age, and you will play this character until he dies. When he dies, you will then play his primary heir. And the game continues on like that. Uh, and it really would only end in one of two circumstances. One is we get to the end date of 1453. Okay, so little less than 400 years from now in game time, or we do not have any more titles to pass on to our heirs. If we no longer have any titles to pass on to our heirs, the game would end because your family line has nothing left to pass on. And what you're really trying to do in this game, the objective is, well, number one, whatever the heck you want to do. Do you want to be the King of Ireland? Okay. Do you want to try to create the Empire of Britannia? You can do that. Do you say, heck with Ireland, I want to go try to be the Holy Roman Emperor, or have my grandson eventually be the Holy Roman Emperor, or, six generations down the line be the Holy Roman Emperor? You can do that. So number one, you can kind of do whatever you want. But number two, what you're really trying to do, or the goal of the game, is to build your family and dynasty into the most renowned family and dynasty in the world. Okay? Well, let's start with our basic character, and that is the Petty King Murshad. Now, what makes up the Petty King Murshad and what makes him any different than any other character? Well, when you look at his player card, it will always show the primary spouse. And now I say primary spouse because some cultures are polygamous. As a matter of fact, our Irish culture is polygamous. And you, if you look down here, can have secondary spouses. All right. So you will need to go look at your culture, and I'll show you where that is here in a moment, and figure out what does our culture like, what does our culture not like, what is considered a virtue and a sin in our religion. So there is religion and culture, and we'll get into that in a moment. So first of all, what you're going to see up here is a picture of your character. He will age, and you will see him age. He'll get gray in that beard if he gets old enough. Um, and then you'll see their primary spouse, all right? Up here, now that's not going to be the case for him because he does not have one. Here you would see this character's liege. And by liege, that means who they owe their allegiance to. If Ireland had a king and we were only a duke or at the Dutch level, which we are, uh, and you will see that here, feudal, duchy, rank, realm. If Ireland already had a king, we would owe allegiance to that king, and we would see there that as a liege. It is a character directly above you in rank and title. Okay, so let's go look at what I called our vassal down here. When you look at his character card, his liege is us. All right. And so you can very quickly see who does this person owe allegiance to in this game. Luckily for us, we owe allegiance to no one. We're a king on our own. Um, then to the bottom right here, you will see the direct player heir for this character. Now, if we go down here to our guy, our vassal, you will see his primary heir is his son Olav. All right. And you can tell it's his son because if we click on little Olav here, you will see down here parents, grandparents. Well, his parent is our vassal. Okay. Same thing with Brian here. Brian is our son. It says he's our son, player heir, and knight. If we go down here, you can see his parent is us. All right. Now we're just starting the game, so there's no mother shown. As we get into the game, there will be a father and mother shown. Okay, so liege, player heir. All right, this gives you the player's name, age, and approximate health. Health is fine. All right. Underneath that, you will see these cards or tokens. What these are is every character in the game has three personality traits, all right? And they will pretty much be different for every character in the game. Our character is temperate, wrathful, and impatient. Okay? And that should tell you quite a bit about the character and how the character acts. Now, that is going to have certain effects on stats in the game. All right. So, impatient, for instance, means that his learning skill is -2 because he is impatient. He doesn't like to learn, but his prestige is higher. His opinion of a liege, now we don't have a liege, but if we did, would be -5 because he would grow impatient with him. Vassal opinion of us is -5 because we're impatient with them. We're like, you figure it out yourself. And so they don't like us as much. We have better hostile scheme power. As you can see, these personality traits, every single one of them have different effects on our character stats, okay? And so every character has three main personality traits. Every character then also has an education trait. And when I say education trait, don't think that it just has to be like reading and writing and arithmetic. It can be kind of anything in the game that affects things. So, for instance, our character here, his education trait is skilled tactician, which means he's better at warfare. Martial skill, the cross swords, is warfare. This gives us a +6. Okay, let's go look at someone else. The Earl Ragnald here, he is deceitful, generous, and content. Okay, now you'll see this bright red here. That is considered a sin in our religion. All right, and we'll get to that in a minute, but just know if it's bright red around a trait, it's a sin in our religion. If it's bright green, it is a virtue. And you can see temperate is bright green here. That is a virtue in our religion. Um, his education trait is brilliant strategist. So these education traits go on a level scheme of 1 to 4, 4 being the best. And you can see the 4 stars here. So he is exceptionally good. That gives him +8 in martial. Ours is is a 3, which gives us a +6. So, we're in this martial education trait. He is as well. He's a little bit better than us. After that, so every character has 3 personality and 1 education trait. After that, you see special traits that you've built up during the game. Now, that can come from decisions, that can come from what you study, that can come from a myriad of places, but you will see them listed here, and these are individual to every character. They A character may have 1 or 0 of these. They may have 20 of these. Um, but you can see here, open terrain expert. All right. That is a commander trait. We just have this. I don't really know why we have it. We start the game with it, but if we had not started the game with it, we could have studied something or a decision would have popped up in the game. And if we decided to click on it or take that path, we could have become an open terrain expert. It gives us commander advantage, and we'll get into that in the warfare. In plains, farmlands, and steppe. And so if he's the commander, this is probably where we'd want to fight, okay? Brian has none of these, all right? Let's go look down here. I just want to look at a different kind of character. This is a county tier character, all right? You can tell by the smaller shield. He is compassionate, deceitful, and paranoid. Okay. His education trait is he's a conscientious scribe, which gives him a +2 for learning. All right. And he has none of these special add-on traits. All right. Let's go look at the King of England. The King of England is King Harold II. He is arbitrary, arrogant, ambitious. All right. He also has this martial education trait. In his case, he's a level 3. He's a skilled tactician. He has picked up organizer, which is, again, this is just something that he would pick up in the game that's independent to him. He is also robust. All right, and he's an overseer. Now uh, these traits are independent just directly to him, and every character, as I said, could have 0 of these or 50 of these. Okay, now this one is a special one. Physical traits. So you see down here, physical traits, they can be passed on from parents to their children. They in the case where the trait is congenital, okay? And so if you have a spouse that has a congenital trait, you have a chance, a percentage chance of passing that trait on to your children. And so often, if you're going and looking for someone to marry, you may want, in this case, robust gives him a better power score, okay, for individual combat. We'll get to that in a minute. His health gets a medium boost, and people find him more attractive. All right. Harold has a strong physique. Congenital traits can be passed on to your children. They're the only ones that can be passed on to your children. Okay. Great. Let's go back to our character here. And so these are traits. Directly below this are skills. These are 5 skills, actually a 6th skill here that every character in the game also has. And what are they? Well, they are diplomacy. This is how well you interact with other characters. And think of this as being on a 1 to 20 scale naturally. Now you can go over 20, that's not a hard cap, but you can only really do that with bonuses and buffs and things that you pick up along the way to get up and over 20. All right. So 1 to 20, it's like an old Advanced Dungeons and Dragons dice roll. In this case, he's a very poor diplomat, as you can tell. If it's a scale of 1 to 20, he's a 5. That's not good. You can always see his base, and you can see what is changing, what modifications from that base score are happening. Because his trait is wrathful, he gets a -1, and then it tells you what the effects are. Now, if you ever have a question about what any of these things are, you can always click on these tooltips. They are amazing in this game. If you want to know what a scheme is, it will tell you exactly what a scheme is. Then you can go down. Now watch with these tooltips, look in the upper right. It will fill in and then lock, and then you can just keep going up or down rabbit holes all that you want. This game is amazing. It's got the best tooltips I've ever seen on any software program, not just a game. Okay, so diplomacy is the first skill. Martial or warfare, essentially, is the second skill. Now you can see our character has a 17, which they tell us generally is excellent, and you can see what that means. His stewardship, or how well he manages his realm, is an 8, which is poor, 10 being average, right? His intrigue, which is how well he can manipulate other characters, run schemes, what are called schemes in this game, against them, or defend against schemes himself, is 7, and that is poor. And again, you can see the base of 8 and why that's actually a 7. Finally is learning, and that's poor. So, this is learning, intrigue, stewardship, warfare or martial, and diplomacy. All right. The sixth one here is prowess. This is his individual fighting skill. Now, this again is on 1 to 20. Now, you may say, well, he's got a 17 for warfare. This is how well he commands troops, how well he can raise troops, how well he's a general or, kind of the top guy in the military. Uh, that's these kind of traits. This is individual fighting skill if he was actually to get into a sword fight or a joust or something like that. Okay, uh, and and that can also, if he is commanding an army and that army is beaten, this may decide whether he lives and dies, whether he can fight well. You will also have pop-ups where this is important, and he can either maybe increase that or learn new skills to up his prowess. But that is individual fighting skill. To the right of that, you see the general type of religion of this character. In this case, it's insular Christianity. All right, we can click on that and see the basic beliefs of insular Christianity. It's monasticism, vows of poverty, pastoral isolation. If you hover over these, you can see how that affects your realm and affects your characters. Okay, you can then also see the sins and the virtues of our religion. And this could have an effect on how you like other characters, how characters within this religion view you. For instance, we are temperate. Because we are temperate, uh, people have a plus 10 opinion of us in general that are part of our religion. We also get more piety points every month because of being temperate, because it is one of the virtues of our religion. You'll see here our religion is male dominated, and that has a real effect on who can inherit titles, who can rule, how people will look at men and women that are part of our religion. It's pluralist, it's theocratic, a communism. You can read all about these. A really important one here is marriage type is polygamous. Okay, that's obviously incredibly important. You can see what the religion thinks about same-sex relationships, female adultery, whether it's criminal and frowned upon or not. You can look at all of these things. It completely summarizes our religion. It also tells you where our holy sites are and what kind of buffs and bonuses you can get for visiting those holy sites. All right. If we back up, now you probably just saw that a minute ago, but down here are our map modes. And if we hit on the faiths, you'll see we are insular Christianity. You'll see on Ireland, for the most part, it is all insular Christianity, but Catholicism has started to take a foothold here. If we back up, you can see almost all of Europe is Catholic, all right? So that could cause some problems for us. We are of a different religion. Now, we are also Christians, but as history played out, Catholics maybe didn't look as kindly on religions, even if they were other Christians, if they did not share the Catholic faith. So that can cause some problems with other characters in the game. A French king might not want to marry or have someone marry into his family that's not Catholic. And so that can cause a problem. You can also see as we move around here, there are the different types of Islam. For instance, there are different sects of Islam. There is also Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox like Christianity, which is different. And so these different faiths can have a real impact on your character, how your character sees the world, and how other people see you. So let's go back to our realm and go back to our character. So this is our general type of religion, which is Christianity. Next to it, it shows you we are insular Christianity. And again, you could go click on that. Fervor has to do with how intense our people are about their religion. And as that goes up, that can have different effects that you can read about. Below that is our culture. Okay, and so the two big kind of things about the people that you rule and the people that are in your realm are their religion and their culture. In this case, our culture is Irish. And when we click on this, what you'll see is based on our culture, and we go to this map mode down here is the culture map mode. And if we, zoom out, French culture, Anglo-Saxon culture, Irish culture, Gaelic, you can look at those just as well as I can. What this goes to though is how advanced is our culture? Well, in our case, it's not very advanced. Let's put it that way. Um, but our culture can learn things as time goes on. Now, right now, we're in the early medieval period, and there's a series of innovations that our culture can become fascinated with. And and one of those will be picked for your culture, okay? Now, most of the time, someone else, another character in the game, is going to pick those. So if you just pick some guy down here in France, the King of France is going to pick what your cultural fascination is. So whoever is the head of the culture picks that. Well, it just so happens we are the cultural head of the Irish culture. So we could go through all of these things and decide on one of these things that we want to focus on. Now, whenever I play the Petty King Murshad, I usually do royal prerogative. We're not going to get all into why I would do this, but you can pick this, and that would become our new cultural fascination. You see it down here, and it's going to take us, as you'll see to here to the right, 56 years. And when it does, then we will get these benefits. All right. And for every one of these, you can see what the benefits are when we finally research them. Left to their own devices, each one of these will take 391 years to study. The one you pick is generally around 40 or 50 years. Okay, so it speeds up that process, and that is your culture. So we see it up here, your religion and culture. You can also find that down here, religion and culture. Okay. Um, Now, to the right of that is our family. This is our family crest, okay? We are, and it will always, for the most part, over in Europe anyway, be called whatever your house is. House Bryan, okay? Let's click on that. House Bryan is the house we're going to be trying to build up. This is the point of the game. Our son is a member of this. His son will be a member of this house. We are going to be trying to build our house up into having the most renown. And you can see who is the house head, and then you see dynasty. And dynasty is really the ultimate what we're trying to build, but there is no other house in our dynasty. It is this Dalgaka, sure, dynasty that you see here. It tells us we're insignificant at this moment. We're trying to build up to being noteworthy. We have 15 living members. Um, and we have two house. This is the founding house. We're a cadet branch of this dynasty, and it's really the dynasty we're trying to build up. I just say it's house, but the house, there's nobody left in this house for Dale Kaga or Gukha. It's really only House Bryan, but this is ultimately our dynasty and what we're trying to build up. You can look at your dynasty tree, and here we are. This is our son Bryan. We have brothers, okay? They are both half brothers. Um, and then they have sons, they have grandsons, and this is our house. Bryan is our direct heir. If he has a son, that will be our direct heir. But if he does not, the tree could come into play of who inherits. Okay, so you can go look at your family tree. Um, we also can build up dynasty legacies. As time goes on, we will be giving the choices to focus on warfare or law or guile. We can focus on these things and get our dynasty to be known as having certain expertise. Okay, right below this then is our chief title. This will always be our main title. You can see here, Petty Kingdom of Munster. That is our main title. If we click on that, it will take us to that. This is the petty kingdom of Munster. Now, we do not control all of that, which will become important. But when you click on the petty kingdom of Munster, it will say what's inside your realm and what is outside of our realm. Well, right now, if we get down to the realm level, Desmond is outside of our realm. Our realm are these two counties, okay? Um, how many claimants are on our title will become important, but we'll get to that. Okay, so we have two titles. We are the Petty King of Munster and we are the Earl of Thomond. What's the Earl of Thomond? That means we directly control this county, and the game is broken up into counties. This entire map it revolves around counties, and you can see them as we zoom in on the realm view. You could also do it down here in this map mode, counties, okay? And these counties are the source of everything on this map. And every county is made up of either 3 or 4 parts. Now you'll see our county has 4 parts, all right? And every county will have a castle. And that castle uh, will be always who controls the county is whoever controls the castle. All right, so every county has a castle. Down here, this has a castle, this has a castle. Every county in this game has a castle. Now, counties can then also have cities and temples. Now, this is called the Bishopric of Roscrea. It is a temple. This is a city. This is the castle. And then we have an empty one. And as we get more gold and more stuff, we can build on this area, this section of the county. Sections of counties are called baronies. Now, you cannot play someone on this level that controls just a portion of a county because it's really the liege is the person that controls the county castle. All right. So when you say, oh, we have this title, the Earl of Thomond, what does this really mean? Well, we control the castle in Thomond. All right. And the people in the city will have a mayor. We say Mayor Finsnecta here. They will send us taxes and what are called levies. Those are the two most important things to remember when you think of people that are under your rule. They will send you tax amounts and levy amounts. So taxes, of course, are gold pieces. Levies are how many troops they can raise for you. All right. What about the church? Well, the church, you don't have a direct say in the church, really. That will be appointed by the head of your religion. And so this bishop, you cannot say who this is. And the church will appoint them. Bishoprics, though, or temples, a temple holding, also sends you taxes and levies, but only if your bishop likes you. All right, and what the heck does that mean? Well, we'll get to that in a second. But every character in the game has an opinion of you, and you'll see that here, plus 77. All right, this is our son Brian. He has a very high opinion of us. This scale is set from either negative, from at the bottom, negative 100, which would appear in red, all the way up to positive 100, which is in green. So let's go find someone who does not like us. We'll go back to the realm view. Does our vassal like us? He does. He's plus 14. He likes us. Uh, his son, Olav, the little guy, he has a negative 20. I don't know. We made funny faces at him or something. He does not like us. Negative 26. And that can have all kinds of effects on how people interact with you, whether they like you or not. A lot of the things you'll do in this game are to get people either to like you or to make them fear you. So if they don't like you, that's fine, but they better fear you, which is called a dread score, and that is right here. This is natural dread. This is how much people fear you. You can make certain decisions that will make people fear you more or less. You can execute people, for instance, throw them in the dungeon, do things like that. Um, So you'll always see here your main title, Duchy Tier Realm, okay? That is the next, the level right below a kingdom is a duchy. It means two or more counties. You control two or more counties. Um, Now, we also control a county, but it's not our top title. Then you see one claim. What is a claim? You need claims to declare war on people. So, much like real life, you can't just go around and declare war on people for no reason at all. Now, it doesn't have to be a good reason, all right, but you have to have a reason. And one of those and the reason would be a claim. And you can have a claim on another county, on another duchy, on a kingdom, on an empire. You can have claims on those, which are things, it's basically saying we have a right to rule this area. And there's a bunch of different ways in this game to get those claims, but you will have to have a claim to declare war. Okay? Now, let's go through these really quickly. You have the dread score that I just talked about. And again, with all of these numbers, you can come here and see what makes up this number. All right. Then we have what I call the personal assets. All right. The personal assets are here. They're also right here. And what are they? They are gold. And everything in this game is based on a monthly cycle. So down here, you'll see monthly income. Where are you getting that from? Okay, we're getting that from the Barony of Luminich. Down here, you'll see our castle is the Barony of Luminich. All right. And you may say, well, hey, we control the whole county. We do, but we only directly control the castle. All right. We get taxes from the city. We get taxes from the temple. And so if we go up here, we'll see from our domain, we get 1.8. Then we see vassal taxes. The mayor is sending us taxes, but the bishop is not. Why is that? Well, let's click on the bishop. He doesn't like us. So we're going to try to have to get him positive, and then the temple will also start sending us taxes. All right. The other thing you see here is in vassal taxes. Now, this goes to, we'll see here, Earl Ragnald of Ormond is also sending us taxes. He is our vassal, and you can see that from this yellow line that's going across here. What does that mean? That means we are the ultimate ruler of this county. We just don't directly control that. And you may say, well, why would we ever do that? Well, because as you get bigger and bigger as a ruler, you cannot directly control everything. And that is right up here. You see domain holdings. We directly control one castle. Okay? Great. We are limited to only directly controlling 5 counties or castles in a county. All right. So we have a limit. Now we're nowhere close to that limit, so we could get rid of him as a vassal, but that may cause all kinds of problems. He may rebel against us. He may not help us if we're having a war with someone else. And so you have to be very careful with how you treat your vassals. The most important thing also to remember about vassals is if you right click on him, you have a contract with him. And if we click on this contract, it regulates how much taxes, how many levies that you can get from him. Okay. Now, if you try to change these, he may think you're a tyrant, and that can cause all of your people to not like you. You have to be careful with this, but there are certain ways to get him to change and get more out of him. Now we're kind of stuck with him at the start of the game. We could get rid of him if we really wanted to, but it would probably cause more problems than it's worth. Okay, so you have gold, you have prestige, prestige and piety. Okay, think of these two things as currencies. Now, they're not currencies like you think of gold, but they are points that you will use to do certain things in the game. So you may have a knight that has a really good prowess, all right? And you really want him to fight in your army. Well, you may have to pay 75 prestige points to get him to come to your court and be in your army. All right, so these are just currencies, and piety is the same way, only with religious matters. Okay, and so maybe you've done something bad, but the church will say, hey, give us 100 piety, and we'll forgive you. That's just an example I'm making up, but that's how piety and prestige work. They're really currencies, okay? And you'll get so much of these a month, just like gold pieces, and this will tell you why. The next thing is renown, and this tells you how well you're doing as far as a dynasty goes to building up to being noteworthy or on to the next one. And this will tell you why you get so much each month. All right. So back down here, that's also here gold, prestige, piety. Really, prestige and piety you do not give to your heirs. They could inherit your gold, but these are really personal assets to this character. Okay. The next to it is how many levies or how many fighting men can this person raise if they need to. And in our case, levies. So these are just general, your mob troops, right? They're just men. They're warm bodies. We can get 352 and we can get 6 knights. Okay. Knights are like super soldiers. They deal 10 times damage as a generalization. So just think of knights as being super soldiers. They're worth about 10 levies, if not more. All right. So that's that, and that is also right up here. We already talked about the domain limits. Let's go down here. You can always look at your family members. They will have what looks like a teardrop if they are a member of your family and dynasty. You can always tell that very quickly. This again is your son. He will have this crown here if it is your player heir. You can also see your other relationships here, including secondary spouses. You can see other relationships, wards, lovers, friends, rivals. That will all happen as the game develops, okay? Your court, this can be very important. These are people that are sitting here at your castle. Think of the medieval times, they're sitting around at your court, they're clapping for the nice play that somebody put on, whatever the case may be. Now, why is this important? Well, this can be important for a lot of different reasons. You draw knights from people that have good. So let's click on this guy. Does he have a good prowess? Not really. He's an 8. But you can get knights from your court. They can be wards that help educate younger members of your family. They can serve on your council that we'll get to here in a moment. And so they all have traits just like everybody else. They all have an opinion of you. And they can be very important. You can also marry them off or bring people to your court that have certain claims, and then you can use that claim to declare war on someone. Okay. Finally, you have your vassals. We already talked about Earl Ragnall down here. He's our vassal controlling this county, but also the mayor of a county you directly control is your vassal. Members of the church are never considered a vassal per se, but they will send you taxes and levies if you control that county and they like you. All right. And so that really kind of sums up our character. We really only have just a couple more things to talk about. Um, Over here, you can see on him, you can see he has this renown tree here because he is the head of our dynasty. If we were playing a character that was not the head of the dynasty, of course, it wouldn't have that. He is also a member of our family and dynasty, which, you say, well, okay, of course he is, right? Then we have stress level. This is something new that Crusader Kings 3 implemented. What this is if you start making decisions that are not in line with your personality traits, it starts to cause you stress. All right. And if you get to 100, you have a mini breakdown. If you get to 200, you have kind of an intermediate breakdown. And if you get to 300 in stress, you have a complete mental breakdown. Okay. And so try to avoid that. Now, you can sometimes make decisions and say, I'll take on 15 points of stress. Not the biggest deal in the world if it's really good. All right. Now, what is this? Lifestyle. and we have none selected right now. You will also see that here, lifestyle. This is you deciding what you want to focus on as a character to learn things. You can learn things and get bonuses and buffs through your lifestyle. And so we could pick diplomacy, martial, stewardship, intrigue, or learning. These are exactly the 5 player skills here. Okay, so we can increase our player skills. Well, it says here, because of our martial education trait, we gain 30% more experience in this lifestyle. Fantastic, okay? And then you have to decide a focus within that lifestyle. Now, don't think that this choice here has anything to do with these. It does not. This just gives you a buff to a certain thing. So here, if we pick this focus, we will get a +3 to our martial score. So look at our martial score. If we pick that and select it, it's now a 20. Okay, but once you pick this, you can't change it for 5 years. All right. Now, if we were trying to play Dread and we wanted people to scare us, we could have picked this, or be scared of us. We could have picked this, or Chivalry, and we wanted like more commander advantage. We could have picked this. But this will start to build up on this counter. When it reaches the end, we can pick a perk down a tree. Now, the next, we've already got some of these, right? Next, when this gets to, what is it, 1,000, we could pick this one, or we could start a new tree. And every 5 years, you can change this. You can change what your focus is. Maybe you want to start off as more of a warrior and later on be better at collecting taxes. And you would just flip over to stewardship, and then you can see all of these perks. All right. So that's lifestyle choice. Now, up here at the top, these triangles are very important decisions that you need to make right now. One is that Brian, our son, is not married. And as was the custom of the time, we can select who he will be betrothed to and marry. All right? And then you get this whole list of women that the game says are relevant to marrying Brian. You can also sort these on alliance power, prestige gain, rank, age, opinion of you, so on and so forth, sum of all skills. You can also see their congenital traits. So Guigone is comely, meaning she is the first level of being pretty. She is robust, which gives her better prowess. This woman is a giant, okay, that has certain things that come along with it. We have another giant here. They seem to be attracted to Brian. We have someone that's delicate. And so you can go through all this. You can also filter all of this and decide who you want to be Brian's spouse. I also do not have a wife. And so I could click on this and it gives me a listing of the most relevant women for me to marry. And when I do this, let's just click on her. You will see her liege who would decide if she can marry. And then it will tell us the details here and whether they will accept or not. All right. And so that is how you get married. You would click that and send the proposal. As the game starts, it will then click and say, okay, they've accepted your proposal. So these diamonds tell you your very important decisions that really need to be made right now. You are not married, and Brian, your son, is not married. So those are very important. These are just the current decisions that can be made. They include these, but they're also ones that aren't nearly as pressing, such as I told you, the bishop does not like us. This is important because he needs to like us to send us taxes and troops, okay? We also have too few spouses. We are polygamous in a polygamous religion. We can't just have one spouse, or people are going to start to look side-eyed at us, right? We're going to have to get more. We can declare wars. Why is that? Because we have claims on this territory. And then we have other family members that can get married. Now we see Brian in green because, this is an important decision up here. Also, our 2 half brothers are not married. We can decide who they marry as well. Click on that. There's our half brother Conchabar, and we can try to marry him. to someone. So these are just a summary of all of sort of the decisions you have. These are the very important ones. Now we went over all of these items over here with the crown. This is your realm. So you can always look at this and say, what do I directly control? I control this castle at Luminich, that's in the earldom of Thomond. This is my direct control. It also tells you that this has one empty spot here. We could build a castle here. If we go down here, you can see construct new holding. We could build a castle, a city, or a temple. Those are the three building blocks that can be built in a barony. And these four baronies make up the county, okay? Also, as we see the earldom of Thomond here, as we've clicked on the county and you see it outlined here, you can see that we have Luminich, our castle, we have the city of Innis, and we have the Temple of Rose Cray. Here is the empty one. This will tell you about the county. Our control of it is absolute. 6 development, 10 popular opinion. That's the opinion of the people. This tells you how many troops it can support. Now let's go to Luminich where we already have a castle built. You'll see in the background here the castle. There and you'll see the general information of the castle, fort level, the garrison here. If you click on this, you can build these things up. And so you can build up either the main holding in a barony, or you can build things that are in and around it, such as outpost, wetland farms, hunting grounds, okay? In this case, we've already built bastions and curtain walls. Those can also be upgraded, all right? So we're to level 1 now. If we want a level 2, it would tell us how much that will cost in gold and how long it would take to build. And that is your realm. All right, this is your domain within your realm. Okay, up here, this is very important. Crown authority. This is how much authority you have over your vassals. Right now, we're at the lowest level. That's not good. We want it to increase. And this will tell you what it takes to increase it, and you'll see right here, it costs 127 in prestige. That's what I was talking about, where prestige can be spent like currency. If we go to level 2, it will ask us, pass a law that may have positive benefits or negative benefits. Now, in this case, it's showing us nothing but positive, but if we tried to go to a level we're not really capable of reaching at this point because of our culture or other relationships, then it'll say, no, you can't do this, and it'll tell you why, okay? The next tab, you can see your vassals. This is Earl Ragnald and Mayor Finsnecta. Then you can see your succession laws. This is maybe the most important part of the game, your succession law. And if you read here, Confederate partition is where we are now. It means all of our children inherit equally. Now you may say, well, that sounds nice, doesn't it? Well, it's not so nice if you have 3 sons and they split everything up amongst themselves and then they start fighting each other. Because you'll be playing Brian, he may have to go fight his brothers. So you want to get to a point really where your eldest heir and your player heir gets everything. And you would do it by looking at these laws. You can come here and see, what do these laws do? How do they affect the succession? But always keep in mind, what is your succession? Because your player heir will only inherit your top title. So in this case, he's going to be the petty king of Munster. But his brothers, in this case, because we're male dominated, will get any earldoms underneath that for the most part. And if you have several petty kingdoms you control, then those brothers split those up equally. That's not good. Gender law here, okay, or you can change your designated heir. These cost prestige points. They can also cost gold. Sometimes you can't even do them because we do not have absolute crown authority. This crown authority really dictates how much you can dictate as a king. So that's your realm. The next is your military, okay? Now here you can raise all armies if you go to war. These are your levies. as I said, general troops. These are your super soldiers, your knights. There are also men at arms that you can build for certain amounts of gold. Light footmen, bowmen, light horsemen, pikemen, armored footmen are the troop types. Then you have onagers and mangonels, which help you with sieges of castles. Okay, and so if you click on one of these, it will tell you what these troops, where these troops are good at fighting. It will tell you how much they cost, and then it will say create. Well, we cannot create it because we only have 26 gold pieces and it costs 45. This will be your standing army. These guys, the levies, are like farmers that are out here. This would be your standing army. These men at arms regiments and your knights, like I said, your super soldiers. Rally points, you can set where you want your army to congregate. In this case, you see the red flag here is a rally point. Again, this tells you how much it's going to cost you in gold pieces to have this army either, you know, assembled, or when you disassemble it, how much it costs just to maintain. You can also buy mercenaries for gold if you really need to. Also, as the Catholics or the Muslims, not really for insular Christianity so much, but you can bring in holy orders like the Knights Templar, let's say something like that, or you can create your own. Now, we are nowhere near being able to do that, but you can do that here. Now, when you're going to declare war on someone, let's go up to Petty Kingdom of, well, actually, let's go down here to this Earldom of Desmond. You will right click on the ruler of that land, and you'll see right here, declare war. And if we hit that, we will have to decide the reason of the claim that we're pressing to declare that war. In this case, it's to seize the earldom of Desmond. All right. Our objective is the earldom of Desmond. And if we have multiple reasons, we can change that or select a different one. If you enforce your demands, or you can have a white peace if you or if things aren't going great, or you could even surrender, right? What will happen if we win this war? We would gain the contested county. Okay, we can do all of that. And you see the effects of declaring war here. This guy that we're declaring war on, he loses an opinion of us. Okay, declare war. We've declared war on him, and off we go. The next thing I want to talk about here is the council. Now, your spouse will always be on the council, and she can either generally help you or help you in one of your specific skills, and her points will be added to your points, generally half of her skill level. Okay? Meanwhile, your bishop will always be your learning counselor. So this again corresponds to those player skills: learning, stewardship, diplomacy, martial, and intrigue. And what are these guys on the council doing? They're helping you with those basic tasks. They will be adding their skill to yours, or maybe they'll be out there doing something for you using that skill. And so the more skillful that they are at these things, the better help they're going to be to you. If they're not very good, like under 10 here at something, they may screw things up. So we may get a message, hey, your steward Merchad actually didn't collect all the taxes he should have. And so you get less gold this month, right? Because he's not very good. Meanwhile, someone that's 19 here, like Earl Ragnald, as our marshal, he's adding this martial skill to us. It may say something like, Earl Ragnald is very good at raising troops. You get 100 more levies when you try to raise your armies, okay? And so you want people that are very good at the skill that they sit on the council. Now, that being said, your powerful vassals, and we only have two at this moment, will always want to be on your council. And if they're not on your council, so we'll see Earl Ragnald, and it's this fist right here, tells you whether they are a powerful vassal. Earl Ragnald is on, and Mayor Finsnecta, the mayor of Innis up here, the town, he's our other powerful vassal. How would we know that? Well, let's go to our realm and look at our vassals, and here they are. And it'll say they are a powerful vassal. They are going to always want to be on our council somewhere, right? They don't have to be a specific task, but you're going to want to try to match them at what they're good at. And if we look at Marifin Snekta, he's really not good at anything, and so we've put him at intrigue 1111 because that's his best skill. Okay. Now, each one of these counselors can do a specific special task. So take your bishop. He can improve religious relate. This is what they'll be doing independent. Okay, they can improve, or he can improve religious relations. He can convert faith in a county. So if you take over a county that's not your faith, let's say we took over a Catholic county, this would light up. Now, right now, there's no county that we, have taken over where this is needed, but we could. In this one, this is the most important thing that any counselor can do: fabricate a claim. What does this mean? Well, let's say that we wanted to attack this county, but we have no claims on this county, which is true. We can look down here at claims. We do not have any claims on the earldom of Ossory. We can say fabricate a claim, go click on here, and he will start to fabricate a claim. And at the end of this time, and you can see the progress here, it's very likely that he will come up with a religious reason why we certainly must attack this county. Now, our chancellor is going to be foreign affairs, domestic affairs. We can pick. Right now, we have him focusing on foreign affairs. He could also integrate a title. If we take over something, we may need that title integrated into our realm. Okay. Our steward can collect taxes, which is what we have him doing. He can also increase development in a county. And let's go look at our county of Thomond. And you can go down here and look at the development level. And this is how fast things will be built here and what can be built. All right. And so I showed you in the county how we can build different things. In Ireland, we have a very low level of development. We're only at a 6 in our home county. So let's go back to Thomond here. Here is development, that's a 6. Let's go down here to Hampshire. Hampshire is an 11, and it will tell you what effects that has, and that's on a scale of 100. So that tells you, 6 is just not very good. So our councilman, the steward, can develop a county. They can also promote our culture in a county. All right. Our steward can organize levies, train commanders, or increase control in a county. So I showed you in this county, this is our level of control. If we took over something not of our faith or not of our culture, this may not be absolute. It's also on a scale of 1 to 100. It may only be like 50, and we may need to send him in there to gain control. Spy Master helps you either disrupt schemes against you, support schemes that you're trying to run, or he tries to find secrets. Now, why would he do that? Well, that gets us on to intrigue. And in intrigue, you can run schemes against people. Now, schemes do not have to be a negative. I know it sounds negative. Let's get back to the realm here. I know a scheme that sounds negative, but it doesn't have to be. And what do I mean by that? Well, we know that our um, vassal down here, Earl Ragnald, he only has a plus 14 opinion of us. We may want him to like us more than that. Let's right click on him and you see this personal. These are schemes you can personally run on people. And this is sway. What does it say? We have a 70% chance of Earl Ragnall's opinion of us increasing by 25 points. That would bump this to a 39, and that would probably take up to 2 years. Okay, great. So we can start that scheme, and we're trying to get Earl Ragnald in various ways to like us more. All right, and now you see it here. Personal schemes that we're doing. Our spy master, our intrigue guy on our council here, could help us with that. See, support schemes, he would add his heft or his skill to that. Right now, we actually want him defending against people maybe running a scheme on us, such as trying to have us murdered or imprisoned, which is something else we can do. Let's click our um, on our bishop here. Hostile, so these are personal. Sway, educate a child, send someone a gift. Hostile, imprison or murder. Whoa, okay, we could start this scheme, and it will always tell us as we start the scheme down here in Intrigue if anybody wants to help us. So here, it's right here. Invite up to 14 people. Now you can try to buy them off to help you. You could do other methods. The more they like you and the more they dislike this person, the more prone they are to help you out. The final things here, your court. We had already talked about your court. You can have a court physician, which helps people stay healthier. Uh, these people are guests in our court, and these people are courtiers of our court. They are permanently members of our court, at least right now, unless they get plied away from us somehow. And we can try to use their skills to do certain things. And also, we can marry them off or bring people to our court that we want. I, with Bevan here, our aunt, I just want to click on her for 1 second and hit arrange marriage or find spouse. Let's find spouse. Arrange marriage means it's someone in your court. Find spouse means it's someone outside of your court. And I just want to talk about one more thing here because it's so important, this matrilineal. If you are marrying off females from your family or your court, they will go to the other court of whoever they're marrying. Um, if it's obviously if it's a male, they will go to the court of the male. This is patrilineal to start with. But if you have a sizable prestige advantage or there's some other reason that somebody wants to marry into your family, you can click matrilineal and that will bring the male to your court. So let's say we find a low-born person that has a really high prowess that we want to be a knight for us. We can click matrilineal, and when they get married, that person would come to our court, even though she's the female. One other thing I just thought of, that I just thought of that I had forgotten is your knights. If you click on knights, you can force people to be knights, allow them to be knights, or forbid them to be knights based on how important they are to you and how good. Over here, you'll always see their prowess score on 1 to 20. So Mayor Finsnecta, he's a 12. We may say we want to force him to always be one of our knights when we declare war. And with that, I went a little over 60 minutes. Now, there was an introduction. I'm going to say that was 70 minutes, but I think we hit all of the big topics for Crusader Kings 3. Again, if you want more information about any of these things, I've done a basic tutorial, usually one whole episode on each one of these items. Make sure you check that out if you want to know more about the game or the Let's Play. So as always, thank you so much for joining me here on Strategy Gaming Dojo. We almost did it. I'm going to call this Learn This Game in 70 minutes. But anyway, I wanted you to have all of the information. As always, thank you so much. Strategy Gaming Dojo. Talk to you next time.